All right, so I've mentioned these numbers of LUFS and RMS and things like that, and I just want to make sure that you understand what this loudness measurement is and what you should be aiming for in your mastering. Because peak volume is something that you want to pay attention to when you're mixing, and the RMS and LUFS levels are what you're going to pay attention to when you're mastering. In the digital world, nothing goes above digital zero or 0 dBFS or decibels full scale. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Zero is the max volume that you can put your track out on any platform online, especially if you're dealing with CDs or vinyl or anything like that. I call this max loudness because there's a limit to how loud you can get, and that limit is zero. And it's kind of like that suitcase analogy that I mentioned earlier, where you're just trying to basically stuff more volume into this one master fader. And so there's a limit to how loud you can go. Now there's a measurement because the peak volume kind of is pointless at this point, right? So the peak volume is how the loudest peak of the loudest wave that you have in your track. Now, once you get to mastering and you're trying to make things loud, the peak volume kind of goes out the window, and all you're left with now is RMS and what's called LUFS, a fairly new measurement of loudness. And RMS and LUFS, without getting too technical with the details, is basically the average loudness of your track. And I'll show you an example of this and what exactly that is in just a minute. So when mastering engineers are trying to make things louder, or when you're trying to make your own mixes louder, what you're really essentially trying to do is to raise the average volume level of your overall track. And that's measured in RMS or LUFS. Now, if you're trying to make your tracks louder and you're going to end up putting them on something like Spotify, Spotify actually has a limit set at minus 14 LUFS, meaning if your track if they get your track and it's louder than minus 14 LUFS, so that means if it hits minus 13, minus 12, minus 11, minus 10, then they're actually going to turn it down so that the average volume is at minus 14 LUFS. And also other platforms like YouTube, iTunes, and all those, they actually have a limit of minus 12 LUFS, and that may actually change as well, depending on when you're seeing this recording.